Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, the one God to whom all praise is due. We thank this one God for his many mercies and blessings. We thank him for his prophets, his messengers. And we thank him for intervening in our affairs, not through a prophet, not just through a messenger, but preparing a body and coming himself, fulfilling the scripture in the book of Matthew, the 24th chapter, the 27th verse, as lightning shineth out of the east, even unto the west, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. We thank him for coming in the person of Master Andrea Muhammad. We thank him for searching among us, finding one worthy among us in the first instance, in the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we thank the two of them for not leaving us comfortless, but giving us a leader, a teacher, a guide, a brother, and a true friend in the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I greet all of my brothers, sisters, and others in our nation greeting of peace, of Assalamu alaikum. I am a student in the ministry class under the divine professorship of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and we have for you this evening a believer in God, a believer in Jesus the Christ. We have a testimony from a believer who has come a long, long way. I was just sharing with this particular believer, because of their bubbly spirit, because of their upbeat attitude, that I thought they had only been around for a couple of years, but in fact, this young lady has been around for 7 years. She is a child of the church. Her parents are the preachers of Christ. Her people are people who sincerely believe in the Jesus of the scripture. But unfortunately, like all of our parents, all of our people, all of us have been deceived by the wicked hand of Lucifer, who promised God that he would come up in their straight path, from their left side, from their right side, from in front of them, from behind them, and take all of us off the path. And that path that Lucifer, in fact, came up in and deceived the whole world is through the word of God, and taking the word of God out of its rightful place and making mischief with the word of God, which is akin to the nature of the black man and woman in America and all over this planet. I want to introduce to some and present to others a believer who has a testimony for us. And I would only ask us to listen very carefully to this young lady, because I believe that she really has a witness that is genuine, that all of us can benefit from. I present to you Sister Andrea Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum. You have to come off of mute.
There we go. Yes, sir.
Ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, student minister. Thank you so much for those beautiful words. Thank you for this opportunity to share my testimony with all who will listen. I am humbly honored to accept this assignment from you, and I'm grateful to be a sister in the army of God under the leadership of you, who I consider to be a giant in this beautiful wisdom of knowledge that I gained, 7 years ago. And I pray that Allah will guide my thoughts and help me to express my personal walk with Jesus as a Muslim. So, first and foremost, let me open in the name of Allah, most beneficent and most merciful. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is indeed his messenger. I would like to greet you and Brother Stephen and Brother Rodney and all of our listening audience in our nation's greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Thank you again for this assignment. We've been here before. This time, just so that you know, I went ahead and put my testimony in writing so
Hey,
that I can
that's
get through
beautiful.
it
That's beautiful.
without the emotion that I had the last time I shared it. I want to get through it really quickly so that I can get to my current trial, which is my own health trial.
Take your time. Take your time. Don't be in no hurry. Take your time. This is your time.
Yes, sir. Thank
Use
you.
it how you see fit.
So first, I grew up in a God-fearing household, like you said. I had God-fearing grandparents, aunties, uncles, and extended family members. We had annual family reunions, birthday gatherings, and every time that we came together, I can remember the elders speaking to us and holding prayer circles, thanking God for those who were present at the time and those who were no longer with us. Yes, my mother is an ordained minister. She's also First Lady. My pops, he is my stepfather, but he and my mother were married, and he became the bishop of the church, which they attended after attending seminary school. He transitioned in 2017, so he's no longer with us. But my children and myself attended the church that he pastored up until a certain point. So I carried this tradition with my children, Chavin, Taylor, and Tyler, while raising them. Chavin is my oldest son. Taylor and Tyler are girl-boy twins. They're 9 years apart. So they too grew up attending church, participating in all of the activities like myself as a youth, vacation Bible school in the summer, fall harvest celebration in the fall, Christmas plays in the winter, Easter sunrise service with baptism and egg hunting in the spring. As a matter of fact, this time of the year would be the mother-daughter tea that me and my mother and my grandmother would attend, just coming up within the next week or so. So all of these activities kept my children busy and out of trouble, so I thought. However, my oldest son, Chavin, after graduating from high school, became no longer interested in attending or participating in church activities and began a life quite opposite right before my eyes. I was in denial. Up until his 20th birthday, I had a celebration for him. And one of his gifts that he received that day was an OSU baseball jacket. It was scarlet trimmed in gray. Chavin rejected the gift and said, "I don't wear red." I looked at him and I could no longer deny that, yes, he wore blue every day, and I hadn't paid it much attention. He had also gotten tattoos on his hands, branding him to some sort of block, which I won't say. I was very upset. I told him that he could no longer live under my roof, participating in those activities. There had been some other situations that led up to that birthday, but I won't get into that. The birthday rejection of the gift was the final straw. And I felt that my house had already been under attack for gang related activities. So I forced him to get his own apartment and begin living on his own. So for the next 3 to 4 months over the holiday season, I saw him here and there. And then on January 26th in the year 2008, I received a phone call from a close sister friend who her parents were also in ministry. Her Bishop Mackey and his wife fellowshipped with my pops and my mom on several occasions. Um, she told me that she was very sorry for the call because it involved Chapin, and she needed to put me on the phone with a detective who was looking for me. Apparently, Chapin's driver's license still referenced our old address, which was the property that me and the children occupied. But at this time, it was my sister friend and her family that were occupying the home. Um, so because of the closeness to where the the condo was to the shooting, which had took place, and I'll get to that in a second. My son Chabin had been critically injured, and it became a blessing that his driver's license was not current. So the place that they went to go looking for me gave me that much more time to get where I needed to go. So I was told to get to the hospital right away, which I did. I will not go into the details about the condition that he was in when I first saw him. I will say that I was blessed to have assisted the doctors in stabilizing him, and they placed him in a life supported state that night. This supported state of life lasted for 14 days. I'm going to fast forward past all of the details of his hospital experience for the sake of time, but I will say that day 11 is really the day that he left here. I know some people don't believe that he was here for those 14 days. Some of my family members believe that he was gone that night. But God's grace and mercy did allow him to be in that state because he and I had extensive nonverbal communication up until, like I said, day 11 is when he made that transition. And well, I will say, because the key point here was I kept telling him that I was not qualified to make the decision of unplugging him on my own. Day 6, he opened his eyes, which gave all of us hope. On day 7, there was an officer that used to be on guard for the gentleman that was to the left of the bay where Chavin was in. It was like a critical injured area of the hospital. And one day I saw the officer get off the elevator and I saw the doors that he went in. And I thought, okay, that's the back way. Didn't think anything of it at the time. But on day 7, it started storming real bad. It was a terrible storm. And I remembered that there was a back way. So I snuck in the back way and ended up in his room. And that's how I know he was here. Tears were coming out of his eyes. His nostrils were flared and he was scared. He was alone. I remember having a conversation with him about electricity keeping him here, and how he had put himself in a situation that I could not help him. I didn't know what to do. I'm willing to take you home, plug you in, do whatever we need to do. But these things are natural acts of God. What if the lights go out? What will we do? So I impressed upon him, Chavin, you have to make this decision. I will not unplug you You will need to let me know what you want to do. So I just wanted to throw that in because, like I said, he made the choice. And on day 11, I visibly saw life leave his body. And for those next 3 days, I saw the shutdown. And I had accepted it. So when we unplugged him on the 14th, there was no activity. So with that said, I want to get to the funeral. Like I said, my parents were clergy members. Um, they had attended seminary school and made some wonderful friends, men and women of the cloth. All of them were present at Chavin's funeral. They all gave words. Um, the eulogy narrative of the day was snitching. If you know something, say something. We need to get to the bottom of this. We need someone to come forth, and I wanted that also. But the key thing that I took away was there was no mention of heaven or hell. Being a child of clergy, I had attended many funerals, and there was always talks of Sister so and so wearing her robe, making her pies, brother so and so golfing, all in heaven. There was no mention of heaven. All of this clergy on the dais that day, no mention of heaven for my son Chavin. So later on that evening, you know how the family gets together, everybody
Yes,
gathers
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
together. We're together, and I asked Pops, did Chavin go to hell? He was grieving. He didn't answer me. He was a very wise bishop, and I believe in my heart that he knew the truth. He just didn't teach it for whatever reason, but he was not going to lie to me. I said, you could have at least said he was sea walking in heaven. Where'd he go? And I just remember being so confused about church and religion at that point. My brothers tried to answer the question. We were all fired up. I mean, we're all ready to go kill somebody, and we're all ready to go to hell at this point. But that's when it became real for me. So I left the church. Me and the twins became full gospel, full-fledged members of Bedside Baptist. We watched Trinity Broadcast Network every Sunday. We cleaned the house. We did laundry. We prepared for the week. And that became our Sunday routine because mom didn't get her answers and was angry. And that was that until 8 years later, 2015, the 9 church members, like my mother and Pops and so forth, were murdered down in South Carolina. All over again, I'm stimulated and upset about church. I know my mother. I know Mom Anderson, all of the church moms. I know them. They would let a white boy into their Bible study and they would close their eyes and pray. I never had that type of spirit about me. But I found myself talking with Brother Tim, who's now my husband. At the time, Taylor and Tyler had just graduated from high school, and Taylor was going to play college basketball. So there was open gym being offered over the summer. And she was in for the open gym practice, and Brother Tim's daughter was as well. If you know anything about their school, they're a championship school. So practice may end at 5:00, but you may find yourself waiting on your child to come out the door around 6:00. But at any rate, the conversation was about those 9 individuals. Brother Tim shared with me that his upbringing was similar. His father, his mother, church, and so forth. But he said something very interesting to me that day. He said that the nation. He asked me if I had ever heard of the Nation of Islam or Farrakhan, and I had not. And he said that we search at our meetings. I thought that was interesting. I didn't go out to a meeting right away. As a matter of fact, we continued communicating. I went to 10, 15. I was so amazed at Mr. Farrakhan. More so being in the midst of all of those Black people, no violence, no smell of cigarettes or weed, no one intoxicated, everyone exercising manners. It was a beautiful occasion. It was a beautiful day. And I had never stood for 3 hours and listened to anyone, but I did. And I was not tired. I could have stood for 3 more hours because he was not talking spookism or anything that didn't make sense. He was talking about economics. He brought the messenger's children out. Well, you all know it was a beautiful day. So, nevertheless, I still didn't go out to a local meeting, and I don't know why. But I recall, I want to say it was sometime in the summer of 2016 when brother was listening to a lecture, and it was Brother Abdul, the principal at
Yes, ma'am.
headquarters. Yes. And he said, heaven and hell are both conditions of life. I felt like someone just slapped me. I said, what did he say? And then he was going on and he was joking. And he said, if you see a sister that's fine, you will say she's fine as hell. If it's cold outside, he said, you'll say it's cold as hell. And I felt so, for lack of better words, dumb. I had been searching all over. I cannot tell you how much time I spent at the cemetery. I'd been up to the hospital. I was so confused on what happens to the body, that spirit that I connected with for those 11 days. It all made sense to me. I tried to talk to my mom and pops and different people. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that, but it was crystal clear to me that this earth is moving constantly. There would be no place past some area of orbit where there would be some heaven, or a place somewhere beneath where there would be some hell. And it instantly gave me peace that I was never going to see my son again. And although that may be harsh for some, for me, it gave me peace, knowing that I didn't need to concern myself with whether I was going to go to heaven or hell when I die. That's going to be the end of me, and what I produce will further me. Chavin had no children, so when he passed away, there's nothing. I'll never see him again. So that was that chapter of my
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Beautiful.
life. Praise be to Allah. I had to write that down so that I can get it out.
Oh, understood. Understood.
So now, fast forward, I started having, which it was seemed minor, issues with my left leg in September of 2022. I went to visit my daughter. She lives in Georgia. We went hiking. Taylor always has these itineraries of things for us to do whenever I visit her. Outdoors, which I
Yes, ma'am.
do, whether I'm up for it or not. I pretend like I am. So I think I did something to my leg while I was there, and I began limping. Um, I go to ER. The first time they do an ultrasound on my leg for blood clots, and the gentleman told me literally, "Look, lady, you're menopause. You need to go home, and you need to learn leg yoga." I should have listened to him. But needless to say, my leg kept bothering me. Taylor insisted that I go back and have them recheck me, and I did. And when I went back, they did lab work on me. They did a CAT scan and an MRI. No, they did a CAT scan, just a CAT scan that evening. But the CAT scan and the lab work showed these elevated CPK levels, and they kept me. They kept me
What
for
is CPK? What is CPK?
muscle inflammation is the best way to describe it. It's a muscle inflammation.
Lactic acid. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So they kept me. I was in the hospital for 5 days. Um, I was diagnosed with a condition called polymyositis. They described me as having an autoimmune disorder. Um, Honestly, the care that I have received since then, in my opinion, has made me worse. Um, I wish I had stuck to Eat to Live, and some of the more natural things, like working on getting the blood pressure down, managing stress, taking a walk each day, and the yoga, like that first ER
Yes,
doctor
ma'am.
told me. But I accepted the medication. And like I said, I honestly feel as if the treatment that I received worsened me.
Yes, ma'am.
So now I'm at a point where I'm on no medication, and I have rejected these expensive treatments that they want me to be into, or want to prescribe for me. And they've labeled me non-compliant. Um, my job terminated me for being disabled. So Brother Tim and I were paying almost $1,000 a month for continued insurance coverage. So we switched insurance just within the last couple of months. And now I'm being told that all of my doctors are not in network, which I checked when we were researching this new insurance, and they assured me that they were, but it's a network thing where the network can be out of network, but the doctor can accept the individual or the insurance. So that's where I am today with it, and all praises are due to Allah, because I now have to find a new rheumatologist, a new neurologist, and a new set of care. I already have hired my own physical therapist. So I'm in physical therapy each week. And like I said, I am on strict Eat to Live, fasting, praying, meditating, yoga, taking some anti-inflammatories that have been very successful. I've got my numbers down quite a bit. I want to
How
say
do you feel as a result of this new regimen that you put yourself in by the guidance of Allah? How do you feel in terms of how you felt when this thing first happened?
I feel good. Here's the thing. I never was in any pain. Allah was so merciful. The trial really was more related to self awareness, self reflection, time to myself with Allah. It really has been more about self and those around me. I have never been in any pain or discomfort. My symptoms have been where my brain is telling a limb or something on my body to perform a function, and that limb won't do what my brain is saying do.
Yes, ma'am. But in
So,
terms of where you were to where you are now, though, is that starting to improve after you came off of all these drugs and all of this bad advice? The regimen you're under now, has that improved in the areas that were the drug pushers were trying to keep you at? And now that you got your own physical therapist, now that you got your own meditation and workout and yoga, is that helping you to feel better?
yes,
Do you feel you've improved?
yes,
Beautiful.
yes,
All praises due
I
to Allah.
do. Yes,
So by you taking charge of your own health, you've improved 10 times better than most of us who think our doctors, lawyers, and monks are gods besides Allah, according to the Holy Quran. But yes, ma'am, continue, please.
yes, sir. So, well, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. That's where I
Beautiful.
am. I'm very optimistic. Allah has brought a sense of calm over me. I've learned patience, patience with myself, patience with others. Um, I wake up every day and appreciate things that I didn't appreciate before. Simple things like breathing, bringing air in through my nostrils, taking it down to my diaphragm, holding it, and then letting it out slowly. I do that as a form of prayer since I can't perform a rak'ah in this current state. I perform my prayer through meditation, through breathing, um, through the things that I'm able to do with my disability, if you will.
Yes, ma'am. Along with that meditation, breathing, you can also utter the prayers from whatever position. The Quran teaches us that we can praise him or pray to him sitting, vertical, horizontal, or whatever position we can perform it in. When the minister, I believe it was in Mecca, in his wheelchair, he just asked permission of the imam. Could he just pray right there? Because that is permissible. Allah never wishes hardship on a believer, and he knows what our hearts desire. And since you desire him and you are constantly seeking him, you can pray to him whether you can perform a ritualistic rak'ah or not. But I'm glad that you discovered that, because the reason why I'm asking you this question this way is because there are many believers who, in this dispensation of time, are going through what you're going through with one malady or another. So sometimes when we share the way you shared this evening, it can give hope, because if Allah going to answer the prayer of another believer, that prayer may be answered from another believer. And this is why someone who can stick with their God and their faith, regardless to what they're going through, is a greater testimony than someone who has it or appears to have perfect health. Things are progressing along, and they have not had a major trial yet, but yet you've had a major trial in your early days, a 7-year-old in your early days, but yet even as a child in Islam, listen to your testimony. It's an inspiration. I tell you, it's an inspiration.
Praise be to Allah.
Yes, ma'am. In terms of your family now, both immediate, extended, how are they helping you, attending to you, looking at you in regards to your current condition and your improvement since it first occurred?
That's a good question. Well, they are worried. And they are amazed that I'm not. So I find myself encouraging them. And I just told my youngest brother this not too long ago, that I believe I have many chapters left to my life. We're all going to die someday. I do believe that I have many chapters left for my life, and that I don't want them to worry, that I really do care about myself. The minister says we only have one life, so we have to fight like hell to be here. So I assure them all the time that I am operating in a manner where I know I'm connected to God. The autoimmune for me is like one organ working overtime and another organ just kind of chilling. So part of my meditation, and I know Allah guided me to say these things over my body each day, is to tell my brain to pull its weight. I tell my heart to pull its weight. All of my 9 systems of order, I talk to them and tell them every day,
All praise is due to Allah. Yes,
you
ma'am.
pull your weight. Don't you let the lungs do the work for the heart or the brain and so forth, because it's all about balance. And then I look for, do I need sodium? I pay attention to what I eat and how I feel. And there are some things that I have removed from my diet that I no longer eat. Fried foods is one. Carbs, I watch my carbs. So I baby myself in what I take in. And I think it's giving them a little more confidence. They really
Beautiful. Beautiful.
love Brother Tim and how he takes care of me. They offer themselves whatever
Kudos,
they
Brother
can
Tim.
do.
Kudos, Brother Tim.
They offer whatever help they want to do. So my brother picks me. I mean, they just love to do something and feel like they're helping in some sort of way. And
Beautiful.
I'm
Beautiful.
so blessed. I thank Allah.
Yes, ma'am.
I did want to add to my testimony. I forgot to tell you about my first meeting, student minister,
Okay, sure,
when
please.
I met you and Sister
Okay.
Aisha, your beautiful daughter.
Oh my goodness, you met me. No wonder. Are you still here? Is that Sister Andrea on the thing? You met Donnell and you stayed? Okay, go ahead.
Yes, sir. So after I heard the brother Abdul, I decided it was time to go to a meeting. Brother Rasul, Mr. Ishmael's brother,
Okay.
he was the guest speaker that day. Do you remember that over at the King Center?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that was the first meeting that I attended. And I
Okay.
knew that day that I was going to accept. And I
Okay.
did. I brought my daughter, Taylor, with me. And I think I had my little niece. But that was the day that I came. And that was the day that I accepted. And yes, I've been here ever since.
Praise be to Allah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, Minister Rasul is a pistol, man. He has a grasp for this teaching that is
Yes,
unique,
sir.
just like it is unique with his brother, Student Minister Ishmael. That's beautiful. Yes, ma'am. Yep. They have been very helpful in my life as well. Brother Stephen, are there anybody on the line that has a question, or do you have any?
Yes, sir. I have a question, and Brother Rodney, he's on hold. He has a question as well. Assalamu alaikum, sister.
Wa alaikum salam.
My question is that I come out of the Christian church as well. Grew up in Catholicism, then went to the Baptist church. So you can imagine the black and white there. You know, one is just banjo playing, and the other one is a full-fledged, you better duck because a purse is being swung. My question to you is, for those who, are so attached to Jesus, right? But they may have a curiosity about Islam. Can you talk about that transition and how you coming into Islam doesn't mean that you reject Jesus?
Yes, sir. Brother Steve, I direct many people to. Do you remember when Aretha Franklin passed away?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember the funeral?
Yes, ma'am.
I was so irritated because, again, that would be me, praise and worship, singing about Jesus, and he's right there. And I not even acknowledge him or be aware of him. So we are lazy learners. Whatever belief system has been instilled in us, we don't take the time to research. And what I've learned about myself is I was always an inquisitive child. I used to get in trouble. They thought I was being smart aleck, or I irritated. I to this day, I think I irritate people in authority because I ask questions, and they don't know the answer. So they make it about me, asking when it's really about them not knowing the answer. But Pops was the best example that I have, that although he taught and preached the gospel of Jesus, here we have a perfect example of, did he believe in what he taught and preached? Jesus is big business.
Yes, ma'am.
Fantasia was all over that stage singing. Yolanda Adams, Minister Farrakhan was sitting there. If that wasn't so blatant, and for me, I saw the way people treated me when I started courting with Brother Tim. Oh, he's a Muhammad. I saw the way my job started acting. I saw the way my family, and I've always been the type of person that you can't choose my friends. So it gives us fuel to say, if he ain't who we say who he is, then why so much censorship? Why?
Right.
Yes,
That would be my response for that.
All right, let me bring on Brother Rodney. He has a question. All right, Brother Rodney, go ahead. You just have to unmute. There you go.
Go ahead, Brother Rodney. Wa alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum salam.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Brother Steve, you touched on it, because a lot of people. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Go
sir.
on.
Go right
A lot
ahead,
of people
brother.
believe that we don't believe in Jesus. And Sister Andrea, you alluded to it when you said at Aretha Franklin's funeral, he was sitting right there. Could you elaborate on that a little for me? And why you say that?
Well, I say it because
Can
I
you hear me?
know. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. We're she's starting to answer you.
I say it
All
because
right.
I know who he is. And I'm paralleling that to I was once just like them, where I feel like I would not have been able to recognize him right there with me, had I not heard what I needed to hear to connect with the teachings. It's different for everyone. For me, it was the loss of my son and where his spirit went after his transition. So hearing the brother explain heaven and hell is where I got connected. I believe it's different for all of us.
Mhm.
You know, the Final Call newspaper is so key because there's something in that paper for everyone. And we just have to find the connection with our people, which, like student minister always says, sometimes it's a conversation over a cup of coffee or what have you. When you conversate with someone, we kind of live in our feelings anyway. You might be able to discover right away which article could
That's right. That's
play
correct.
you see where I'm going with that? You might be,
Yes, ma'am.
it might be eat to live. There may be a health challenge. And you say, well, have you ever tried fasting maybe one day a week or what? So it just depends on what is going to connect for each of us. It's different.
Right.
That's a fact.
Can
But
I
I think
ask? Oh,
hold
go
on,
ahead.
Brother Steve, for 1 second.
Yes, sir.
Sister Andrea, the way you made the point though about when you saw Fantasia and Aretha Franklin's funeral and the Jesus was sitting there in plain sight, I heard some of your answer, but I think what the questioner is really asking is, what was the direct connect? You may have answered it, but what was the direct connect to make you actually make that statement to say it was during that funeral you could see the Jesus actually sitting there in plain sight? What in your experience leading up to that funeral made you make that immediate connection?
I see. So it was it was my treatment, how others treated me
Okay.
when I started coming around you Muslims.
Love
When I
it.
started hanging out.
With you Muslim,
Yes. I called hell. Corporate
yes,
America.
ma'am.
Brother Tim told me. I didn't listen. Don't take that Final Call newspaper to work with you. Why? Again, here I am with my questions. Why? I'm grown. Why can't I take a newspaper? They bring ammunition magazines. They're in the break room. They have gun
Talking about
catalogs.
all kind of
People,
stuff. Talking about all kind of stuff.
gay, lesbian. I mean, you name it. There's all
Right.
kinds of things around the workplace
Right.
that your colleagues will bring. So why can't I bring a Final Call newspaper? This is going to be the only chance that I have to read it.
You're
Why
right.
can't I take it to work? Well, I learned.
Yes, ma'am.
I learned. I didn't listen. So I hope that answers your question. I
It
apologize
does. It does. It
if
does.
I'm disconnecting, but my treatment, we're persecuted.
Right.
My treatment.
For his name's sake. That's right.
Mhm.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Is there anybody else on the line, brother Stephen? I would like to ask this question though. Brother Timothy is in the audience at his home with his wife. Brother Timothy, if you would answer this question for me. In your journey with your wife and the 7 years of y'all's Islamic sharing, what have you learned and been inspired by what Sister Andrea has just shared and the whole impetus for even having her on the show this evening? What are you feeling, even though I'm sure she's already shared some of this, but I think in the context of this open space, what are your thoughts about this evening? What are your thoughts about this? How long have you been down, Sister Andrea, with this?
19 months.
19 months. So 7 years, 19 months of which have been a trial, have been a Job. I cannot describe it any better, even though there's many trials for many people in the scriptures, but Job is the best example of how to handle a trial that you know that you've done nothing in terms of violating your love for Allah, your love for his Christ. Your journey has not deviated in terms of your love and relationship to them, but yet, as that believer like Job, you are suffering, but your wife, in my judgment, has personified how someone should deal with a trial, because many of us have had many. So tell me your journey and the effect of this particular broadcast and any other moments that you can think of, Brother Timothy, before we close this chapter out.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum, family.
Wa alaikum salam.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his messenger. This 19 months for me has really made me really lean on my faith in Allah. And I say that to say, to see your other half go through what she's going through, and you see it on a daily basis. And yes, I do have my times, and you know, and being the man of the house, you always want to show strength and, you know, and things of that nature, because her trial is physical, but it's also neurological. You know, she got neurological problems, you know, as well. So I have to be real careful on the things that I say, the things that I do, because it can be perceived in a wrong way due to her condition. But
Yes.
when I think about her condition, I always think about the minister and his near death experience when they had to turn him upside down so the blood can flow to his brain.
And
And
what you, Brother Timothy, just not to rush you, but you know, we we only got like 6 minutes left.
yes, sir.
So try to be succinct, but I do want to hear what you have to say. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Real quick, and it's basically, student minister. It's made me lean on a lot, because a lot of times we can throw money at a problem and it'll fix it. We can just go lend a hand and it'll fix it. But this situation, it's 19 months. We 19 months in, and we still fighting. but her attitude and her spirit, I'm feeding off of it. Because though
And
I'm
that is
not
the
going,
greatest healing force. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
yes,
sir.
you know, though even though I'm not going through it physically, I'm still going through it, but I know going through it physically is a whole new different ball game.
Yes.
And for her mindset to be like this, I'm telling y'all, she has some of her moments, but I can really count probably on one hand, maybe a hand and a half on really seeing a meltdown for my wife. And I thank Allah for that.
All praises due to Allah, brother. That's a mouthful. That says it all. Because whenever our loved one suffers, that when we truly love them, not only do we suffer emotionally, sometimes you can actually pick up on their physical pain.
Yes, sir.
The
Yes,
minister
sir.
tells the story, and I know we got to go. He said a man came to him, telling him of a tragedy in his life. And as the man was telling the story, he was so, Allah had in him as one of his gifts. He was so in tune. He was like an empath. An empath is someone that actually takes on the feelings and the pain of others. And as the man was telling him the story, he started unbuttoning his shirt. He started taking off his suit jacket. He started taking the tie off, the shirt off, and I almost had to crawl back into the house by the time the man got finished with it, because that's how sensitive he was to the pain of our people. And for those whom we truly love, brother, what you described is exactly what we should go through, because you can never really help a person if you don't truly connect with them and feel what they're feeling. And when you truly love someone, Brother Timothy, the testimony you just gave will make you describe your experience just the way you did. So thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Sister
you, sir.
Andrea. Thank you, Brother Stephen, for making this
Thank you, Brother
possible.
Steve.
Thank you for all of those who called in and had something to say. And Sister Andrea, thank you for walking us through one of the most difficult periods in anybody's life, let alone that the life of a believer in God. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, sir.
Salam, sir. Bye.